So I'm sitting here with two Region 1 men, one from Mabaruma, one from Moruca. Mr. Nigel Richards was once the Regional Education Officer in Region 1, and Marty was a Education Officer, District Education Officer. Marty is now our Deputy Chief Education Officer for Amerindian and Hinterland Education Development. And Nigel is now our coordinator for school feeding across the country. And the background is actually the Moruca River that we're sitting in front of here. And I can't wait to take a dip, but I'll do that later because we have visits to Warramuri where we're building a new secondary school, and then St. Nicholas where we will be building a new secondary school. Marty and Nigel, tell me what your experience in Region 1 education.
Well, let me just go a little bit back. So this is the Moruca River, and growing up in Moruca as a kid, as far back as I could remember, I used to do a couple laps across the river every morning, so that was a routine. I can't remember when I learned to swim, but I just know that I did laps across the river. If you look over there, there's an old building with a green roof. That was a secondary school that I started at. That was the original Santa Rosa Secondary School. And from that to where we are now, so what we have at Santa Rosa Secondary School, currently there is the upgrading of the dormitory that's happening. So imagine that's where it all started for me. That's where my secondary education started.
Was that a primary top?
No, it was the actual secondary school when we started. It started fresh. The primary top was actually in this building over here.
And this started when?
This we started in 1995. Right, established in 94, 95, that's when classes actually started over there. Right, so that was the first. And so, I mean, look, if you look at that, to where we are now, that alone speaks about transformation. And I was going to tell you that what's happening at the secondary school right now, we're upgrading the dormitory facilities, state-of-the-art quality facilities. So we have grown. We have certainly grown. It has always been my dream that every child in this, well, I'm from here, I'm from Santa Rosa, from Moruca. It was my dream that every child should be able to attend a secondary school, a proper secondary school. There's always been the challenge of children coming from as far as Warramuri to come to school right over there. So they would have had to travel all the distance from this river just to get to school, or walk the road, which would take about 4 hours maybe, 4 to 5 hours to get to this school. Now we're seeing that Warramuri is actually getting their own secondary school, which will be opened very soon. Santa Rosa is upgraded. Quebana is also getting their secondary school very soon. So one of my dreams, even as before I joined education as a resident, was that every child in here should have access to quality secondary education. That today, that is happening. And very soon, before this year is done, the Moruca sub-region in particular should have universal secondary education.
Yeah, because at St. Nicholas we'll have to build a secondary school there too. So
yes, and we're actually breaking that news to them today. They don't know.
We are.
They don't know as yet. So, but we're breaking that news to them that they will be getting a secondary school. And so with the addition of St. Nicholas, we would have catered for them at maybe Quebana, but then it's better to have them at home because of the large population. And so they will be benefiting from a school right in their community. They don't have to travel. And of course, they'll be with the parents and with the love of the community, and they should be able to flourish in there. So that was my dream as we started, and this is where we're going. Thank you.
Nigel?
No, it's okay. She can film.
Oh, yeah, well.
Ready? We can talk.
So whenever ready, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm from Mabaruma, Nigel Richards from Mabaruma, former Redo. And my dream was to ensure that we have secondary schools at the critical locations, right? At the critical locations. We had it in plan to build a secondary school at Kosororo, and now that's a reality, right? We also had it, I don't want to start as I'm repeating what I said, but basically, that's it, right? So we also had a plan to build a secondary school at Warramuri and Quebana, because in the days gone by, we had the regional chairman, Mr. Foreman Singh, the late Foreman Singh, he died now, I can recall forming, saying myself, Paul Beard was the vice chairman then. We went to Quibana and we went and checked out the site, check out had some buildings.
That was when, Nigel? Like when?
It was like in 2014, 2016. So we went to check out some sites, but for one reason or other, finance being some of the issues, we never got off the ground. But today we know that the school at Quibana is now being realized, and that was one of my dreams also. So right now we have a secondary school with dormitory facilities at Quibana, which we were aiming for all along. And now we have a secondary school at Warmori also. So we can basically see that the transformation is taking place. We have the schools, secondary at Wasaroro, secondary at Quibana, secondary at Warmori, and we will be heading down to Manawarn in a few minutes to turn the sod for the construction of another secondary school. So we can see that progress is happening in the education sector in Region 1.
And what about Nigel? And what about you? Well, Nigel actually, he and I go a long way back. So even that school, Nigel was my teacher when I was a student at that school. And
Did
Nigel
he teach you well?
Well, I'm here today. And
Nigel,
we're
did you
still
straighten him
friends.
up?
We're still friends.
I straightened him out. They used
So-
to call me the beat man.
So Nigel, if I could remember, we never had lunch. At
No,
the
we
school
never
over
had
there.
lunch.
So we actually had to pack our lunch, those who could afford to, and those who hadn't, well, they would either have to paddle home during the lunch break or, but Nigel now is the coordinator of the feeding program. So what does that mean for you, Nigel, that you are the coordinator?
There's a lot of things because, as you rightly recall, when I came into Morocco in 1994,
1994.
right, that was a secondary school. We had like about 5 teachers, if I could recall. And the enrollment was like about 80 or 90 or somewhere through there, right? And the school was offering like 4 subjects, C-Sec only. So I went, I introduced principles of business and principles of accounts.
Wow.
Right? I introduced that to the secondary school, so that adds some more subjects on the curriculum. And we worked. There was a very good cordial work relationship with the staff that we had. We had some VSOs too. We had some VSOs from England. They were assisting also. And then they built the school over at Comaka, at the Comaka Recreational Ground. And then we moved from here and went up. But by the time we moved from here, from that 80 to 90 students, it had already increased to like 150 students.
Because once there are schools,
Yeah.
children will go.
Right, 150 students. And then I left and went to the University of Guyana. And I was surprised when I came back. I wanted to serve over 400 children, secondary children. Because by then they would have built the dorms. Yeah, they would have built the dorms. The students from all around Morocco, the Barama, Waini, Warmori, Manawarn area, they attended school by staying in the dorms. But now, Warmori children, they do not have to come to Santa Rosa anymore. They have the secondary school right there. And we are going down to Manawarn right now to turn this out so that a few months from now, nobody from Manawarn will have to come out to Santa Rosa to get a secondary education. They'll have it right there.
School feeding, you should know.
School feeding.
Yeah, so at the time too, there was no school feeding. You had to walk at your lunch or walk in money to buy a little snack. Right? But now, all the schools in the hinterland, all the schools, with no exception, they have a feeding program at their school. All the schools. Right? And not only a lunch, last year, June, we introduced what we call the breakfast program. So, because when I go around, I traverse the entire country, and parents would say, sorry, but what about if we introduce a breakfast? Because I know my child walked from so far, or he or she paddled from so far. And even if not the parents, some teachers would complain that, some of these children come from very far, and by the time they get to school, the food that they would have eaten at home would have already kind of work out. And they may be unable to focus fully on their learning. So we listen, we take into consideration all the different factors, we discuss it with the Honorable Minister, And she gave the approval, make the funds available. And right now we're having breakfast in the school. So two meals per day now, the breakfast and the lunch. So we would have come a long way, right, from since 1994 to now, right? So things are happening. When it comes to free universal university education, now you can get access to university online, so you don't have to leave your location to go to the University of Guyana, right? So since His Excellency would have introduced the GOLD program and other university program, the University of Guyana also is offering online courses apart from GOLD, so that you don't have to leave your location to go anywhere. That is free right now.
And I think also one of the, what would make that possible is that, should I say all of the schools, 99% of the schools in this sub-region here are connected. So they have high-speed internet, ICT hubs, or the school itself has a direct Starlink internet. So it's very high speed. And so there's nothing stopping anybody to upgrade themselves. They actually have all the opportunities in their hands right now. It's free, so you don't have to pay for anything. You don't have to pay for internet. You stay right there in your village, in your school, and you study and you qualify yourself because education is free.
And I'm happy to see people using those opportunities, really using them.
They're making full use, so
Yeah.
take full advantage of it.
Yeah, so this is Region 1. These are two men from Region 1 who were born here, served here, and has seen the growth through the years. And the last 5 years has been phenomenal, like double all the dreams that they had for years as education officers have been piled into here. Just trying to get access. We're still working on quality. I'm really happy that Region 1 teachers are able to train wherever they are. So we've been able to move the percentage of trained teachers in the country from 4 to 3% in the hinterland to 8 to 6% trained teachers in the hinterland. But we've also been able to increase the number of teachers. When we started out in 2020, we had about 7,000 teachers. We now have just under 15,000 teachers. It's more teachers and more and better trained teachers. It's not just building the schools. It's making sure families are supported by the cash grant and textbooks and breakfast, and then making sure there's high quality by training our teachers and retraining our teachers and getting resources into the schools. And this is just Region 1, very rural, very beautiful, where children don't have to leave here for that solid education. We're really glad to be part of that. So thank you both for your service over the years.
Thank you.
Thank you.